Sup, Shredders? My name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to the 23rd installment of the SP interviews, where today we're going to be chatting to an act named Kayoss. And if we switch over to here, we have them on the screen. Feel free to introduce yourself, Kayoss.
Hello, my name's Kayoss. I'm from Springfield, Missouri. I'm a one quarter of a group called Really Bad People, and I'm a hip hop artist and producer.
And what's your music all about?
Content wise, I try to make it mostly about actual experiences or experiences that have been told to me through people and the people around me. But for the most part, I would say, like, genre wise, I do hip hop, but it'd be more like of a backpack style or like a conscious rap, even though I do try to do a little bit more of the melodic stuff here or there. But that's more where I would say my roots are when it comes to making the music.
Nice, because like where did this journey start for you? How did you get into this kind of music or music in general?
Ever since I was a kid, I mean, I feel like I don't want to sound like a hater, but I just didn't like much stuff, and I liked music, you know what I mean? Like, it was something that could just always be in the background, or I could always kind of, you know what I mean, go around and find I found like Eminem early on and like Frank Ocean and things like that. And I just felt like it was very interesting to not only hear the songs, but then go watch the video and, see the process and see the interviews they did before that and everything. And I was so engulfed in, watching Sway in the Morning interviews and things like that, that it kind of just became like my, when I got home from school, it's like all I did was just go watch people make music, you know what I mean? And then eventually got to the point where it's like, this is all I really know. So I feel like I should put my knowledge, to use. And I started making my own music. And then here I am 4 years later, and I feel like it's basically my only skill set in life. But, it's worth it to me in the end.
That's fascinating. So you've really found a niche for yourself in your life that you're happy with.
Yeah, definitely. I want to be successful financially, but I'm content with the amount, you know what I mean, of music that I'm making constantly, and with other people just being involved in music, having my footprint in general. I don't need to be the quote unquote best rapper to feel like I succeeded by, even just making a beat for a song that I love for somebody or something.
Obviously, today we're focusing on your solo stuff, but you've also been involved with an act titled The Really Bad People. What can you tell us about The Really Bad People?
Really Bad People is super awesome. It's four people that are from my area, myself, Kayoss, $10, Kid Codeine, and Chris Mack. We all have very different styles. I'd say I do like more of like a boom bap style. $10 does more of like a chopper, like a fast style. Kid Codeine does melodic stuff, kind of like Nelly, and Chris Mack does a lot more of like emotional, kind of pull at your heartstrings stuff. So we were always together getting the same shows booked over and over and over again. I don't know if it was the promoters who did it or what, but every couple of months we'd be at the same shows and we'd see these same guys, you know what I mean, on the opening act. And it got to the point where, like, let's do some studio sessions. And then when we do go do these shows, we can do the songs, you know what I mean, at the shows. And it developed from there on out into a full-on group. And then here we are. We started it about 2 years ago, but 1 year was COVID. So we had a kind of a weird spot where we didn't really meet up. We kind of just talked and prepared to actually get to do things. And in the last year and a half, we've released a couple albums, and our song Rockstars sitting right at under like 500,000 on YouTube and stuff. So it's been a little bit successful for sure.
Man, you sound like you all sound like you're so proactive. Like, is that the state of the music scene where you're located at the moment in general?
Yeah, I think I'm in Springfield, Missouri, so it's very close to Kansas City, Missouri, and St. Louis, Missouri, which are, not huge music hubs, but they do have artists come out of them. So I feel like we're right in this triangular point where all this stuff is getting pushed to us, but the eyes aren't necessarily on us, you know what I mean, as much. So it's kind of really pushed our scene to come together as artists, you know what I mean, and make everything a lot more higher standard than just anybody, you know what I mean, coming out and doing stuff, because everyone really wants to be the next, you know what I mean, area that we can focus on from Missouri to get their music. So I think Springfield definitely has a great scene building here.
Well, I mean, for you personally, I've obviously been doing a bit of research before the interview. Missouri's best local hip hop artist of 2020, 2021, and 2022. What can you tell us about that?
That's a magazine that goes all over the state, and they do like businesses and restaurants and things like that. The first year, I didn't even know they did music category, and I got nominated and pushed really hard to get the vote, and I won. So that was really awesome. And then now that I'm aware of it, have just, you know what I mean, tried to keep the momentum going and to keep that rolling and make that happen. And it's definitely been a blessing, just being recognized to do that, you know what I mean? Because there's, even just in my city alone, there's a lot of artists. So to be acknowledged on that level, you know, of the entire state is very nice, you know.
Well, yeah, because you were talking about the different styles of rap and performance that the other members of the group you're in are really bad people. The different types of rap they do. How do you differentiate yourself from the other artists, music and musicians in your area with what you do?
The hardest part of differentiating myself is everyone kind of gets into a groove of what they think is sounding good right now or what's going to sell. And I feel like I've kind of had to block that out of my head to be like, hey, no, this is the craft I'm trying to get in this area of music. You know what I mean? I don't try to make what's going to necessarily sell to market at the moment, which I feel like a lot of people are kind of stuck in this orb to where it's making them sound the same or have, like, you know what I mean, a similar style of rap or music that's out currently, because they're focused on the chart and they're not focused on if something is new or experimental. You know, it might not work right now, but that doesn't mean it won't be great in the future. Like, I used to love Tyler the Creator when I was a kid, and I always was like, oh, he's going to be great. He's going to do big things. But, like, you know, if you look at his statistically now, he's a completely different artist, you know what I mean, numerically and stuff, because he just stuck with what he was doing. So really try to keep that mindset as I'm making my music, to try to, you know, differentiate, not doing the same thing just because I know it sounds good right now, because it's not always going to be what sounds good.
Though, because I mean, like, from what I understand, you've been active since 2017, right?
Yeah, the end of 2017. Yeah.
So, like, has that philosophy stayed? Has that been a constant, or have your attitudes shifted over that time?
It was definitely a shift. It took about a year to year and a half to really get to the point where I just gained the knowledge of what, you know what I mean, I wanted to do with myself. Because at first I was just kind of practicing and, you know, making just similar things to what I was hearing, as opposed to what I felt like I wanted to say because it involves me. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, and I see this in a lot of other people who start, you know, when they're very young into the rapping, you know what I mean, in general, they rap about rapping, you know what I mean? Or they rap about being a rapper, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's bad. Like, I still do it too. Like, it's nice to get it in every now and then. But I think you really start having a different mindset and leveling up your craft when you don't rap about rapping, because people who are listening to this, they're not rappers. They don't care. You know what I mean? They want something more relatable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, other rappers who listen to it, that's awesome. Like, wow, this guy's really good. And I'm jealous that his bars aren't so good. The average listener is not a rapper. They want something that is, you know, it's from you, or, you know, even if they can't relate to it, they believe you because it's yours. You know what I mean? And I feel like that was a big switch in my head, you know, a couple years in, just kind of realizing that.
Yeah, because music's about stories, isn't it? People want to hear stories, even if they might not
Definitely.
necessarily be able to relate to it. It's about keeping the story interesting as well as the music.
And a big thing I love about music in general is imagery. Like, Action Bronson's one of my favorite artists, because I feel like every time I listen to one of his songs, I can kind of just like see a little cartoon of him doing everything he's saying, you know what I mean? And that's definitely something I enjoy, you know, in music.
So, how do you invoke that sense of imagery within your music? Is it a conscious thing, or do you find it happens just as a natural part of the process?
I think it's more natural. I feel like the more I try to think about my music, the more writer's block I get, and the more just, I don't want to say frustrated I get, but I feel like I'm forcing myself to do something, as opposed to if I can just kind of write as much as I can and maybe structure later, you know what I mean, and stuff. I think the imagery comes out even more. Even, you know, writing, I might come back a couple days later and be like, wow, this bar actually has about like 3 meanings. And I feel like at the time I was just thinking about this one, but it could be broken down, you know what I mean, into these different ways. So I should keep it and put it here, and you know, things like that. I wish I was a little bit better at imagery, but I think I am a good topic rapper. So I feel like that's kind of where I'm lying, you know, in that.
No, that's fantastic because I've listened to a fair bit of music in preparation for this. I mean, if we go, I've got your Spotify page over here.
Nice.
We've got a few tracks like Sacktown. Sacktown
Yeah.
was a great first impression. What can you tell us about that track?
So Sacktown was a good, like, milestone personally for me, because I've been listening to, there's another feature on there, his name's Cassie. I've been listening to him since I was like 16. So he had an album called Black Sheep, and he had a Black Sheep 2 and a Black Sheep 3 that me and my homies would listen to in high school when we were, you know what I mean, just cruising around and doing whatever. So, as I started to progress and started to look to try to get towards getting features and things like that, that was definitely one of the people I wanted to work with and make that happen. And, he's a really cool individual. We spoke and we made the song. I was a little bit nervous at first doing the song, but I feel like after we got everything back from him and it wasn't so surreal feeling, you know what I mean? It was like, okay, this is what I'm doing every other time I make a song. I might as well, you know what I mean? Just make the perfect song, the proper song. So we got in the studio and sent the verses back and forth and created that. And he came down a couple months later and we did a show and performed the song with him and stuff. So that was really cool. I wish we had done a video. That probably would have been the only thing that made the song full loop, but it was more of like a personal thing. I wanted the song to be successful, obviously, but it was just something that I was like, okay, I feel like I'm working really hard and I want something to show for it. You know what I mean? I want to be able to work with the people I admire and respect. And I felt like that was a good step of getting that person first. So that's why we had chosen for the feature. It's a dope song as well. I think he did a good job.
Yeah, no, I've got absolutely no complaints whatsoever. The first impression is so incredibly important. And with your like, I mean, I listened as well through the incantations part 1, where I appreciated that you had some instrumental intros, but you don't mess around. You cut to the chase.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I like intros, but I know that the attention span is very short right now. So that first 30 seconds of that stream is important to a lot of people. So I do try to cut them down a little bit, but I make all the beats for incantations and stuff. So it was, I want to be able to show the music that I'm making as well, because that was just important to me as, all the lyrics were. So it's definitely, something I wanted to incorporate.
No, I'm proud of you, dude. Thank you for making your own beats. It's so cool to have someone work on both sides,
Right. Yeah. I started about 9 or 10 months ago. I was having some trouble with some beats I had leased and I wanted to get the exclusives for, and they just weren't wanting to budge on the exclusives. You know what I mean? And I just got to the point where I was like, I'm serious enough about this that if I don't start investing into myself on the actual music side of this and appreciate all aspects of this and try to be self-sufficient, then it's not going to go as far as I want anyway. So it was time to just knuckle down and take the next 6 to 9 months to be able to put out a project that I made from the ground up.
You picked the best time to do that, because look at all the resources you have nowadays for producing your own beats.
Exactly. Yeah, and I've still kind of went back a little bit, done some random things. Like I still use like a drum pad, MPC, you know what I mean, and stuff like that, just because I like the feel of the original, hip hop stuff. But yeah, as far as like, using FL Studio, anybody could use it, you know what I mean, and make great music in a matter of a year or less, just learning from start to finish on YouTube Academy, you know what I mean? So that'd be the way to go, just YouTube videos and doing that stuff. It's a great time to be alive for sure to make music.
Absolutely. I'm happy to talk. I want to talk about this further, but before I go on, I actually forgot to ask a very important question. Kenyon Ghana, is it Kenyon Ghana? Kenyon Ghana. So I just want to make sure I get that right. What's the idea? How did you get the inspiration for the name Kayoss?
I don't really have a cool story. I get asked this quite a bit, actually. I was going by Kenyon at first. That was just my rap name. I was like, I got a pretty unique name. I'll just keep that. One day I can't remember, if it was anger or what, but I was writing and I was reading it out loud as I was writing. And I just said like, I am chaos in the middle of a verse, and it had never actually came out. And I remember I had a friend there who was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And I had started to try to pick some names, over the last couple of weeks and stuff to figure out if I was going to have a rap name or stick with this Kenyon thing. And I hadn't really put any songs out. And for some reason, it was just kind of one of those weird energy moments. We both just kind of look at each other and you're like, yeah, we think this might be it. So I just reworded how it was spelt a little bit and put out my first official song under Kayoss instead of Kenyon. I had a SoundCloud initially with Kenyon that probably had like 20 songs that were kind of all just like freestyles over other beats, remixes and stuff. But I made that Waves song at the end of 2017 in December with my homie Space Jungle, who produced that beat. And that's when Kayoss was made. So definitely a good time.
So basically, Kenyon or Kayoss, how how do you feel about the fact that people are able to get such access to these kind of beats nowadays in regards to how things have changed over even the last 5 years?
It is super awesome in one aspect and terrible in another aspect. It's great because, you know, anybody who wants to be creative can go on YouTube, type in hip hop beat, or even, I don't know, whatever your, say Lil Uzi Vert's your favorite, you can type in Lil Uzi Vert type beat, and then you can find any music that would kind of be similar to the beats that he's making. You know what I mean? So this brings a wild network of producers out there that you may never speak to ever, that you could link with, you know what I mean, and create songs. But I also feel like it, on this other hand, where it's bad is, you know, people don't have to pay for them, because there's a lot of things with the internet where you can just steal it. You know what I mean? And then, you know, there is copyright and things like that that stop that. But in the general aspect of things, if those producers aren't completely on the correct mindset, then those people will be able to get away with it. You know what I mean? So I think it's great for a networking aspect, but in the long term of things, there's a lot of people making music out here who don't understand how the music industry works at all. They don't even know what leasing a beat would be. They just YouTube to MP3 something and get something down. You know what I mean? They have no need or want to even try to go towards that method of working with a producer in the studio and making a track, you know what I mean? Or something that hip hop was really based around and set and built up from has kind of faded away, you know what I mean, in this day and time. But I mean, everything does. So who am I to complain?
I mean, not that you have to worry about this anymore because you are making your own beats, right? But as you've said,
Right.
you've got these people that are releasing these beats online and people are stealing the beats, right? It would scare me because, like, if you had a track that went huge, but you took a beat you found on YouTube and someone was like, yo, they didn't ask for permission, they don't have a commercial, what happens in regards to the legality of the situation?
I mean, the producer technically owns, you know what I mean, the rights to the music that you're rapping on. So they can, you know, if they can get their copyright and their stuff in order, you know what I mean, they can pull your royalties from you, and you don't get paid off the song because you didn't get it with permission. I'd assume in most situations, producers would be like, hey, this song's doing well. I'd like to get my portion of it, but let's keep making music because obviously this is working. But you know, if they want to be a dick, it's their right. You took a piece of their art and tried to profit off it for your, you know, benefit without them. So it's definitely I don't know, a wishy-washy situation. You know what I mean? I would be upset if it happened to me, if I had a song off my new album, but I had also posted the beat somewhere and someone took it, and then the song did way better and I'm getting no royalties off of the art that I sat at home and made, you know, purely by myself. Like, I understand how people could be upset. You know what I mean? I get it. But music is music. I'm a sample guy. I like samples. So it's like I don't use them very much in my beats anymore, but like I still like to just find them. You know, I got a bunch of records I like to flip through and try to see what I can do. So it's hard for me to say, you know, don't use the beats you find on YouTube, because I will go find a sample and use it for a beat right now and I won't feel anything about it. And it's kind of basically the same thing.
No, I mean, I like your attitude and I think you're absolutely right. Like, samples are dope. Like, samples are
Yeah.
a part of something, you know, like if it's fair use, because that's obviously a thing with sampling that everyone needs to get their heads around is fair use. And the legality is still, there's a lot of gray areas within fair use, as per literally YouTube has issues with fair use and stuff like that. People can get a copyright strike because someone doesn't like you doing something, even if it's technically legal, because they use robots.
I have a producer friend named Brian that says like samples are like jokes, and like everyone will know the same joke, but depending on who tells the joke, it's better. Like, you might not like the joke if you told it, but if I had told it to someone, you know, they might laugh because just the way I tell it. And I feel like he's very right. You know, that samples, this might be a great sample, but you know, just wait until it falls into the right place down this line where it can truly be, you know, the best of its ability, you know, and let people use them and, you know, toy around with it. And I think it's great. It's a great part of hip hop for sure. Wouldn't have hip hop without sampling.
Yeah, yeah. Like, how do you think your music harkens back to? Like, do you take any OG hip hop influences, or is it mostly contemporary?
When it comes to actually sampling, I haven't wanted to sample any hip hop things because I don't want to seem like I'm biting off somebody, you know what I mean, or ripping. It's the difference between paying homage and then them. I just don't want the haters in the comments being like, we all know this is Wu-Tang. Like, yeah, me too. I'm the one who sampled it. You know what I mean? But I all of my music currently that I'm making right now, I feel like I try to take from older hip hop. Like I'm always trying to study and see what I can do to figure out what they did to make this successful, because they created something. I want to say something from nothing because the music was there, but it was something from nothing. You know, they created a completely different genre of music, and my main goal is to try to figure out how I can make that better in the allotted amount of time I have here. You know what I mean? So I think the older way they did things is definitely the more concrete way of making stuff, with just breaking apart drums and guitars and things like that, because it's important, you know, as opposed to just constant two-step hat and some snare, you know what I mean, is not always going to keep me satisfied. You know, I like the experimental stuff people can do. Like I love synths, so that's like I wish that was more popular. I would put it in my music. I mean, I'm still going to, but like I wish it was even more popular, so it was just constantly in music because I can get down on some synths for sure.
Hell yeah, man. Like I mean, you've absolutely got the rap game down, man. Your flow is sick, and I mean that genuinely. Like I got the feeling. No, dude, like I got the feeling immediately when I was listening to you. I'm not being nice for the sake of being nice. This guy knows what he's doing, and I like the stories that you were telling. The first track off of the Incantations one, that what can you tell us about Blue? Because that one hit quite hard, didn't it?
It did. It was a really rough point for me where I just was not happy. I still work a 9 to 5 job, even though we have a show every other weekend and we're moving around, we're doing this. Like I'm still a manager at a thrift store, you know what I mean? And it's rough. People come in and they're like, "Hey, yeah, it's really bad people," and I'm like, "Yep, you 9.99." You know what I mean? And it's just like this weird dynamic where I felt like, you know, I really needed to express my feelings, that like I had to take a point in time where I realized like I feel like I'm living two lives, but I'm not, you know what I mean? And that Blue song was my realization of me not feeling like I have a hip hop life and I have a civilian life, because this is the same thing I'm doing. I just need to figure out how to, you know, maneuver both of them at once. And it was definitely a emotional song writing it, because I meant it, you know what I mean? And it was something I couldn't, you know, write again because it was pure in the moment, you know. So it was nice. I wrote the song no beat and then just made the beat around it, you know what I mean? So that was a cool one as well, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like it's just it's sincerity, it's humanity. Like,
Right.
what percentage of your tracks do you feel you're pulling from that specific area of things? Do you feel like you cover a wide range of topics, or is it?
I feel like not very often. I would say maybe, you know, 10%. I want to keep people entertained too. You know, being sad is not entertaining. You know, people like sad music, don't get me wrong, you know what I mean? But it's, you know, it's not what I want to just develop a brand around sadness or wishes, you know what I mean? I want my brand to be motivation and accomplishment, you know what I mean? You know, there is things I'm going through currently right now, you know what I mean? So I do want to express that in my music, but I want people to latch a sense of accomplishment to Kayoss, you know what I mean? And be like, oh, you know, he enjoys making rap. He's not just rapping because it's therapy. It is therapy to me, but this is like the thing that makes me smile the most. You know what I mean? So it's like making a cold beat. I'm probably cheesing harder than any other time. So it's I don't know. It's very fun. It's very freeing. You know what I mean? And I feel like I can do anything, you know, when I'm making music, for sure.
I mean, like, yeah, you're absolutely. I mean, I listened to Sunshine, which was a very, very different song. I
Yeah.
love the guitar. What can you tell us about Sunshine, especially with the guitar work?
So I actually did not make that beat. That was a beat I purchased. I don't exactly know the producer's name right off the top of my head, but we had made that song a couple years ago in the studio before we had moved up here in Springfield. When we very first started Really Bad People, we had got like a few sessions together where we had 8 to 12 artists in those sessions, and one of them's name was Gabriel, and he's a good friend of mine from high school that I had just brought into the session, and we had found that beat, and the hook kind of just came out, and then we ended up working on it to the side while everyone else was working on their simultaneous things to try to find the project, and we ended up keeping that one for a solo single later in the future, and ended up just releasing it. That I think that's the only song he and I have out that's available currently right now out of probably 30 or 40 songs. So I'm glad one at least made the shelf with him, for sure. I enjoy that song. It's a oldie but a goodie, for sure.
Yeah, and it just shows your range as a you know, as a performer, as a musician. You know, you again, you mentioned the 10% of it being about the sad stuff. You know, it hits hard when you start the Incantations EP, But it is also great to know that you have that variety, and it's great that to know that you ever focus on entertaining people, but that you also show some vulnerability, you know?
Yeah, that's what I tried to. This originally, the Incantations was supposed to be about 20 songs. And then about midway through, I decided to cut it into two parts. So the first part is only solos, and the second part has no solo tracks. It's all feature tracks that were supposed to be on the first part of it. But I really tried to, when I did have the solo songs, make it when I was placing them, a nice range. That way you didn't feel like for 5 or 6 minutes you were dragged into a low spot or something, you know what I mean? I think the whole project is only about like 15, 16 minutes long. Like it's not very long in general. So, it's a trip to Walmart and back, you know what I mean? Is the length of the album. So I wanted to keep the pace throughout it for sure.
Because, like, how important is the sort of the short form factor of the songs nowadays? Like, what is the acceptable time limit for like a single nowadays in hip hop and rap?
A little bit rough to gauge. Honestly, I would say about 2 minutes and 45 seconds is probably the most average thing I'm seeing. I feel like back in the day it was more about 4 minutes, but now I feel like if you got 2 minutes and 30 seconds, about 3 minutes, that's the average attention span range. You know what I mean? You have that people are going to actually listen, because 80% of videos I see are 30-second clips. You know what I mean? And 40% of those videos might even be 15-second clips. So I feel like you really got to pack in a lot of stuff in a tiny amount of time, because people, like, even when I get in the car with my homies, their playlist songs that they love, they're skipping after a minute of it, skip it down to the next one, skip it down to the next one. I'm like, just chill on that for a second. Can we listen to the whole song? You know what I mean? So I think it's definitely shortened a little bit, but I try to keep everything around like 2 minutes and 45 seconds. If I have features, I'm amped to make it as long as we need to go. But if I have something to say, if I can't say it in 3 minutes, geez, come on. You know what I mean? I'm not ranting. So
Well, I mean, it's important, obviously, to be succinct and clear with the story that you're
right.
trying to tell. Because if you're, well, why do you think it is that people are like switching? I can't get my head around that. Why are people switching songs after a minute?
I don't know. I don't know if I feel like part of it might be like I almost feel like nothing is enough anymore in like the general aspect of things. Like we're too desensitized with like the internet and stuff that like I feel like they just need to be on level 10 at all times, like seeing the coolest thing, hearing the coolest thing, eating the coolest thing, doing the coolest thing. So it's like if there's like a quiver of like a 5 second interval where that doesn't feel like it's the mood, you know what I mean, right now, then like we need to switch it because this might make it better, you know what I mean, or this might do this, or this might do this. And that's not with everybody, you know what I mean. I'm just saying it, in general situations, I do feel like the attention span is shorter because they're just always looking for something more, looking for something crazy, you know what I mean. And it's like even with movies, movies that are long, I feel like TV shows I hear way more about TV shows than I did when I was a kid now, because TV shows are like shorter. There's a bunch of them. And you know what I mean? And like on episode 6, wild, crazy shit's going to happen that they couldn't probably put in a movie. You know what I mean? And stuff. And I feel like that has died into music where like people don't like full albums. They like singles or EPs. You know what I mean? They don't want to probably digest 20 full songs from you. You know what I mean? But if you put out 5, they might. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's just kind of where we're at with it in today's time.
I mean, like, I know that I don't want to sort of bum the conversation out too much, but I know people who, if they are faced with like an hour-long video on YouTube, that they won't watch it at the normal speed. They are so desperate for that hit that they will watch it at 1.25. And it's
Right.
like it's just like a time deprivation or something. People either need the dopamine hit or they
Right.
just don't have the time to spend on that kind of relaxation stuff.
Yeah, time is a big factor I haven't even really considered myself, because that makes sense. I'm busy. If you're trying to show me a song outside the club right before my set and it's 3 minutes long, I'm probably not listening to the whole thing. You know what I mean? So yeah, you're very right about that. It's a big factor of it.
I mean, for you, speaking of time, right? 9 months to get to a point where you're making your own beats. Like, I can't fathom that. Cause like I started making music like 10 years ago, back when like all this kind of plugin stuff was starting to become semi-mature. What's your journey been like?
I'm fortunate enough that my best friend owns a commercial studio in town. So my other best friend is an engineer there. So I have been watching for 2 years what's going on. I don't know what's really going on in the general. I mean, I do now, you know what I mean? But like, when I made this step, I was like, okay, I can at least set up my equipment without having to call them. You know what I mean? So I did have a little bit of help, when I had questions, but it was, I work a normal job, but essentially every day, if we weren't doing a show, I work night shift. So about 1 to 9:30. So I wake up at 7 in the morning. I make beats, and I'm not kidding. I do this every single day now. I make beats and write to those beats until 11:45 every single day. Then I go to work, and then I relax for a couple hours before I go back to sleep. And then 7 to 11:45 every morning for the last 9 or 10 months, I have made 1 to 5 beats. I say five now because I might get to a point where I can just bap some loops out, you know what I mean, and then move on to something different. But just constant workflow as much as I could, not taking a day off, even if I wanted to, and I was pissed off and I woke up and I was like, this sucks, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not even making anything good today. I still was like, no, just make one complete beat, make this work and make this happen. You're wasting hundreds of dollars on beats. Even if I bought one beat on this journey of making beats, I was out hundreds of dollars. You know how much FL Studio was? $400, $450 for, I think, the producer version or something like that. You know what I mean? Instead of the $900 version. So it's like I could buy one exclusive beat, or I could buy FL Studio and make beats for life. And I just like kept that mindset. It was like, it doesn't matter if they sound bad now, they'll get to a point. And I luckily know about 4 producers to ask questions with.
Oh, that's expensive. I had no idea. I had no idea it was that expensive to get an exclusive beat. Are you saying, right? How much for an exclusive beat?
I'm saying industry beats more, thousands of dollars for exclusive rights to a beat. You know what I mean? But say, at least in the area that I'm in, I probably know 20, 25 producers. You want exclusive rights to a beat, it might be anywhere from $300 to $600 for you to be the only person that has the rights to that beat. You know what I mean? And if I want to make something that I own and I want to have this for life, I need that exclusive because I don't want to have to release a beat every half a million plays for $40 for this person for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? So if I can create these on my own, then that's the goal.
Holy shit.
It's expensive. It's expensive to make music. You know what I mean? And I'm already paying for studio time. I don't want to have to pay for the music behind me to make it myself.
This is one of the first times in an interview where I've been like almost speechless. Right? It's really hard to shut me up sometimes. I can't fathom that. Cause like
There's cheaper routes. You can lease. They might have like a $20 version, a $50 version, a $100 version. But, me and you can buy the same beat for $20. And then your friend can as well. And all of my friends. And we can all make the song on it. You know what I mean? And to me, that's crazy. You know what I mean? I just want to be if I make the song, I wanted this to be my song. I want it to be my beat, my words, you know what I mean? Everything. So that was my main issue that motivated me to make beats in the first place, was just skipping these corners so we can be self-sufficient. Because if I got $400 extra in my pocket, there we go. I got some music videos and some promo money now. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I'll take that.
I don't know why I'm getting so emotional about this because like I basically hear stories of people leasing like fancy cars and stuff like that for videos, leasing locations and stuff like that, leasing people to like be with them while they do the music video, leasing people to direct the videos, spending all this money borrowing services and assets and stuff like that. And then like they don't even own the beats that they're receiving, so they're effectively leasing it. They might have spent $1,000 to $2,000 or more than that to make a video. And then a lot of these people, not because I've had people admit to me that they buy streams. So they then go and buy the streams and spend money on that and buy promo, and then they buy. How do you make a career on that?
It's rough. There's no ROI when you're spending that much money. There's no way, unless even if your song got 2 million views, you'd still make what, maybe $9,000 back, $10,000 back from YouTube. You know what I mean? It's just like by the time you do all that, you're out money. There's not a way to make that unless you do it organically, and you have 1,000 core fans. Buying your CD for $10 will do a lot more for you than 200,000 fake ones. You know what I mean? And that's just where you got to get at it.
Because again, like I'm deliberately not trying to bum the conversation out, but I had this kid
No.
come in today for like a ukulele lesson, and do you know what he wanted to learn? He wanted to learn the sea shanty song. And that sea shanty song, which is based on this Scottish dude singing sea shanties, do you know how many plays that song has gotten? It's gotten 245 million. And it is literally just a dude doing some a cappella bits and like a cajon. And he's
Right.
made so much more money with so much less work using his cell phone or TikTok than these people spending thousands of dollars leasing stuff they don't even own. It blows my mind, dude.
And that's big motivation why a lot of people don't want to buy them in the first place or even lease them, and why they'd rip them off YouTube, because they're like, well, shoot, I don't even want to spend the money to do this in the first place. But you're just digging yourself in a bigger hole. I think I'm just someone who just appreciates, like, even if I wasn't making hip hop, like tomorrow I lost my voice, I'd still make music somehow. You know what I mean? So I think my mindset of it with it is just like I want to be able to do it right. I don't want a label to come to me or someone I respect in the game come to me and be like, wow, you really don't have your stuff together. Like, you're stealing these things and you know what I mean? You don't know your paperwork and you're doing this and you have no clue what a hi-hat is or an 808, you know what I mean? All this stuff. And it's just like, you're just wanting to be famous rapper boy. And that's not what I want. I want a footprint, you know what I mean, in the industry.
Yeah, because speaking of labels, I mean, I haven't talked about that. And obviously, I'm not going to judge either way. I'm open to whatever. But, like, what are your stance on labels and where would you see yourself wanting to negotiate with something like that?
If I was in the right mindset or time frame, I would sign with a label. I would like to do it if it was possible, for like an allotted amount of songs as opposed to time. Like, I don't want to be like, hey, for the next 10 years, I'm this person who works for this place or does this or do that. I think, I don't know if you ever heard of Russ, but there's an artist named Russ where he signed one album deal to a label and it's just 12 songs. So they own 12 songs out of his catalog. All the songs he made prior, he owns. Everything he makes after, he owns. But that label launched those 12 songs and created this career for him to where he could be independent after those 12 songs. He's not even, contracted to make a X amount of shows for them or anything. They just own the royalties to the songs and they just, pay him out and do something like that. I make enough music to the point where I would definitely do something like that, but I don't want to forever be stuck in one place and worrying about something, or not have residual income on my music for, like, if I have a kid and they don't own my music now or something, you know what I mean? Like, I'd much rather, have that option to place my music in the hands of whoever I want, or choose when I want to put something out.
Because you're working your butt off on a daily basis, right? So the last thing you want is
Right.
a label going, yeah, no, we want to control everything.
Exactly.
You need us, rah, rah, rah. That person you were talking about, they had it sorted. That was a hell of a deal, man. They managed to strike.
Definitely. And he's a major artist in America. But yeah, he's a very very big influence for independent artists, because he just, it's a great explanation that if you believe in yourself, then that little X chunk of this part of your life, if it can push the rest of your life forward, then it'll be worth it. You know what I mean? I guarantee you 100% he makes more money off all the other songs he's made than those 12 songs. Like, I would guarantee, I mean, he makes none, obviously, but I mean, I bet he makes more than they make. You know what I mean? So it was worth it at the end, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, because the thing is that nowadays for people, and I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick about it. People's attention spans are not what they used to. So if you're
Right.
putting out constant new material, that's what people are going to focus on.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. And people want to be fed. If you go stagnant, unless you're Kendrick Lamar, if you go stagnant for 2 years, you're out of here. You know what I mean? He's probably the only person who can not drop an album for 2 years and then just come back and everyone be like, ah, thank goodness, new Kendrick. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's a very quick game. It's a 15 minutes of fame kind of thing.
How are you? Is this system where like you get up in the morning, you work on beats, you work, and then you relax for a couple of hours? Is that something that you see yourself doing for the long term?
No, I'd really like to get to a point where I can not have to work at that thrift store and make beats for other people, and make placements for maybe commercials and stuff for that music, and then have my royalties from my actual albums and the Really Bad People album, and work there. I'd like to get to the point where, music was the full-time thing and production being the main source. I definitely think as an artist, I can make, my fair share if we can get me to that point, of success. But I think in the long game, I want to try to make music for people as long as I can and live off that if possible.
No, it's beautiful. So, like, how do you manage like the promotional side of things? Like, how do you interact with your fans and do all that sort of stuff?
Well, social media is big. I try to post as much as I can and do things like that. But as far as right now goes, we're very involved like in our local scene. So people see us out and about a lot. So we have merch, you know what I mean? And we have cards. Like I don't know if I got one laying around. I'm so surprised I don't, but we got 5,000 of these cards that have the QR code to our music video on them. You know what I mean? And every single gas pump I pump gas at, I slip it in the thing. And you know what I mean? Every drive through window I go to, when I hand them the change, I hand them a card, you know what I mean? And I try to tell every person, no matter where I'm at, what I'm doing, like, hey, your neighbors are really badass rappers and you guys don't even know it. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, here you go. You know what I mean? Like our city's small. So it's just, if we can get the full thing here, then, that's nice. The internet, we haven't really mastered that too well. We run Facebook ads, we run Google ads to some degree, but I mean, if it worked the way everyone wished it worked, then everyone would be famous. You know what I mean? So word of mouth and building a core fan base and people who will buy the album, buy the t-shirt, come to the release shows, you know what I mean? And help fund tours and stuff is our main focus and my current main focus right now. And just trying to get that out, a nice blend of both because it's different, and there's no right or wrong answer right now. And I can never tell someone that's not going to work because I don't know that, you know what I mean, necessarily. It have not worked for me, but worked great for you.
I'm just glad to hear you've been doing live shows. I'm glad to hear that you've been doing like what have your shows been like, the ones you've done over your career?
They started off odd, you know what I mean? Not odd as in like they were bad, but they just when I very first came out, I didn't have a lot of a major fan base, so I had some character builders, you know what I mean? Act before me, super awesome. I went up, no one knew who I was. Everyone went and kind of got a drink and smoked for a second, you know what I mean? Did what they needed to do, came back when I was done. But over the last couple of years, it has amplified, and I personally, in like a non weird way, I would put us in the run to have the best live act, at least in our area. You know what I mean? I think, if you can put us on the bill, that there's a guaranteed ticket sale and there's a guarantee rage going to happen when we, go on. And I think that's is our main focus is it's awesome to be in the studio. It's fun to hang out with your homies. It's fun to make songs. It is way different to be on stage. It is a crazy feeling. You know what I mean? And that is the biggest motivation is like, cool, our next show, when we got 300 people in front of us, we better make sure they are all screaming our name, you know what I mean? And all know our song by the end of the night. So I think that's my favorite part of the game is performing. I think it's the best. I'll perform with vocals, without vocals, you know what I mean? With no stage, without a stage. We performed in the woods on a trailer before, but it worked. I'm telling you, like the guys set it up well. But it's just like we've been in some weird spots and like it's always a good time, man. It's definitely I'm glad that shows cut down heavy here in our area for about a year. And we had to go out of state. We were straight just hitting anybody we could and just driving out of state, anywhere that we could just wear a mask and pull it down real quick to rap and put it back up. You know what I mean? And then we come back up and
Damn, dude.
they have opened our area back up now, so that's nice. We've been trying to really get after it. We're gonna April 9th on my birthday, we have our Really Bad People headline, and then the 11th we're going to Brooklyn and we're gonna perform in Brooklyn as well. So we're moving a little bit. Got a couple shows in the next couple weeks here in town as well. So we got a busy schedule over the next couple months.
That's sick, man. Have you got any like favorite stories from these shows that you want to share? Like you've already mentioned a few of the locations, but
One time we got paid. Do you know what juggalos are? Okay,
yeah.
we got paid to perform at like we're not like juggalo rappers at all, but just word gets out, we put on a good show, you know what I mean? We get paid to perform at a juggalo festival in Mississippi. And we go there and it's wild. They're wild people. And one, love them all, by the way. Great people. Probably haven't had that much fun at a show in a long time, but there was fire ants everywhere because it was in like a campground. So like I'm not kidding, you couldn't sit down without having fire ants all over you. And the
Ooh.
heat, it was so like it's very humid in Missouri, but in Mississippi it's way more humid. Like you were wet. You were wet everywhere you went and you were like burnt. And I remember we were there for 2 days, and the first day we were fine, we got really messed up, but the next day we woke up and everyone was just so burnt from the day before. We couldn't really get away from the sun, and show wasn't until night, and we were just so scorched and just dehydrated and ate up from fire ants. We like almost just wanted to drive back and not do the show. You know what I mean? Like, God, dude, this is so miserable. Just waiting for our set time. We shouldn't have came and camped. But like, I mean, it wasn't just us. Like, no matter where you set your tent, like no one could get away from these fire ants. But that was probably the most wild thing, was a giant fire ant infestation at one of the shows we were booked to do, for sure.
Dude, I never heard of anyone had. Are fire ants like a pretty dangerous thing in your side of the woods?
I have never ran into them here. I like that's like 9 hours away from us. So, oh, I forget that you're in New Zealand, not in the States. Yeah, so I'm in Missouri, and that's in Mississippi. So it's about 9.5 hour drive where we were, and
Oh, yeah.
the natures are completely different. So like I was soaking wet and like confused and getting ate by all kinds of bugs I had never seen, and it was rough. It was a weird time.
Yeah, yeah, sorry, man. I do get confused with where the states are located.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I just slipped my mind, honestly. Yeah.
That was a good story, although I'm sad to hear that you guys had to go through that. It sounds pretty brutal, to be honest.
The show still ended up being good, so I mean we can't complain too much, you know.
Where are you headed in future, though? I assume there's going to be an incantation part 2 at some point.
Yeah, I'd like to put it out in the next couple months, if possible. I had a big session today. It was actually where I was at before I got here. I left there about 30 minutes before. I had about 5 or 6 artists in to come and lay some features down and try to finish off the album. I'm still waiting on about 2 people, but I just sat in there and recorded everybody today and tried to make it go on a little bit quicker. I'd still like to shoot some videos, but as of right now, all my other homies and really bad people are about to drop their albums. So I'm on all of those songs or on those albums. So I'm kind of just waiting on them to do those and us promote those and put this part 2 out right before we start on another group project and see where that can take us.
Sick, man. It sounds like you got everything together. Well, like, we haven't talked about the video, though. You released a video for Comfy, though, right? What can you tell us
Yeah.
about that music video?
Entire video was shot in our studio, the one I've been talking about actually. I really needed a video. I have not done very many music videos, like maybe 10 total. So, and that's not including all mine, you know, that's other people's I've been in as well. So I don't have much practice, and I still need to get some practice, but we wanted to try to have as much content as I could for the project. So there's a lot of rappers in our area, so it's kind of difficult to pick a nice place to shoot because I feel like everyone's kind of been everywhere. And I'm like, well, I know in this spot that guy's been there, and in this spot that guy's been there. So I just used the studio because it at the time was new and no one else had shot there yet. So I had just set up some different scenes and stuff, and it's my first time trying to set up actual scenes for a video as opposed to just going out and about and kind of just shooting like a standard hip hop video. So it's definitely something I'd like to work on more in the future, trying to incorporate more, you know, colors and things like that as opposed to just B-roll and performance shots, you know. It was a good video though. My buddy $10, who's in Really Bad People, is the one who directed it for me as well. So
That's beautiful, man. I love the colors in it. It was fantastic, and you were actually the thing I love most about it. You were actually trying to tell a story with the video itself as well.
yes, definitely. There's a video out as well for Keep It Moving, which is another one on the album, and that was another one that we tried to do a story with as well. And all the people in that are the members of the group, and it's about basically just trying not to follow the standard path of the music industry. So I want to try to keep the theme of being able to have a little bit of a storyline, you know, in the videos that we're doing and things like that.
You know, like it should seem like an obvious thing to tell a story within a music video, but it's not. Often you get shots of different scenes and they're just kind of placed and the imagery's strong, but
Right.
there's like, it's just like you're getting shown a gallery of them being in different locations.
I like that. I think a lot of things that are stopping me from going all out to make like a full more of a cinematic style thing would just be budget at this point. But if we can get to the point where, we can work with these big teams and have a mass budget to do this, I really would be excited in the future for what we could, accomplish and see how we could get that rolling.
That's fantastic. I hope you can get there. I mean, you're well on your way. Before we finish up the interview and give you a chance to talk about anything I've forgotten to ask about, I just want to say I'm thankful for your sense of community. How important is a community within the type of genre of music that you do and in the area that you live?
I think it's something that early on, a lot of people struggle with. Was It was very competitive. It was very, don't book them for this, or don't do this for this, or you know what I mean, don't work with them in that. And I feel like over the last couple of years it has really came together, and I feel like, it's never going to work without like what you're saying, a sense of community, whether it be fans or other artists you work with, or even just a team that you build around you. You need to find people you trust and people that you respect in this craft, you know what I mean, to further yourself and to further the people around you. Because any artist you can name right now did not do it by themselves. Like, there's not a single one. I don't care, you can say whatever you want. I can't even think of one right now because it's not true, you know what I mean? Like, everyone has a team, everyone has people around them that help. And I think, building a community for yourself and working in the community that you're in is the biggest thing you can do for yourself. Because I do not think I'd even be like half to the point of where I was if I didn't go out initially when I started rapping and go to every single show I wasn't on. I was at all of them. I just paid the $12 fee and just went in, talked to the people who opened up for everybody and did whatever I needed to do. Went back, paid the $12 fee, talked to everybody I needed to do, and came back. And then about 6 months later, it was like, okay, now I'm one of these guys and people are coming to do this to me. You know what I mean? And then a year later, it was like, I'm booking my own shows now. And, being in the community and being involved in your local scene is important. It's very important. The internet will get you out there, but if you want to feel accomplished, and have motivation for what you're doing, start in your local scene, in my opinion.
Because like when I started doing these interviews with people last year, obviously COVID was a problem and a lot of places were closed up. But people don't have that excuse anymore of staying at home and relying on their computers. It's really important to be sort of more proactive and in person with your activities, isn't it?
Definitely. I think, people have a stigma that like a lot of, in 2000, it was cool to sell trunks out your CD, but that ain't the way to do it anymore. You're right. It's not the only way to do it anymore because other avenues have opened, but it's still a way to do it. No one's probably really going to buy that many CDs, realistically, but I'm saying, like, if you take that, with a grain of salt and you just actually go and network and speak to people physically, that's, still very helpful in this day and time. Like, go to your local mall. Everyone's probably got a mall within a 30-mile radius of them, 50-mile radius. Go there, print some cards with a little link to your YouTube video or your new album, pass them out, let people know who you are, go to the college, go to the Taco Bell. I don't give a crap, you know what I mean? But like, anywhere that you can do it will help you. Even if people are like, no, all right, cool, on to the next person. Like, you should not be ashamed to spread your music out in your community. You know what I mean?
Dude, I could just keep talking to you. I'm really vibing with this conversation, but I have to go
Definitely, man.
soon. Um,
Yeah, no problem.
However, before we finish, I have two more questions. The first of these is, what's like your end goal? Where would you like to see yourself in like a few years' time if you continue at the pace you're at?
Financially stable with the music. I'd like to be producing for more artists. I'd really like to see this group work out, you know what I mean, for myself and my friends, so they could have a sense of accomplishment, you know what I mean, and feel like everything we worked for, you know what I mean, was the correct thing that we should be doing, whether that happens or not, I'm going to work towards that every day, you know what I mean, and hope for the best for sure though.
That's fantastic. I hope you're able to get there. I mean, you've already got a good start with your music, but getting to know you as a person helps me to understand exactly why you're succeeding. Because you're not only putting the work in, you've also got a pretty good steady head on your shoulders.
I
You're
appreciate it.
you're creative, and also you care about the people around you, and you are just trying to make those important connections. So that's pretty dope.
Exactly. I don't, like I was saying earlier, I don't need to be the top guy. I want to be involved, you know what I mean? I care about music that much, you know what I mean? And that's just kind of where I'm at with it, in this point in time. But
Well, it has been an absolute pleasure to chat to you today, Kenyon, aka Kayoss. Where can people find your music though? If someone's looking through the widescapes of the internet, where can they go?
Anywhere you listen to your music at, I am there. Like I have made the effort out to where it's simple for you. Type in Kayoss and it will be there. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, Amazon, SoundCloud, Deezer, Tidal, wherever you listen to your music. Unless it's a CD, if you play music on the internet, I am on that website. Go check it out. I really hope that there's something for you.
Thank you for that, Kayoss. It's been an absolute pleasure, and
Definitely.
I wish you the best of luck in future, my dude. You have a fantastic day. See you later.
Yes, you as well. Great to meet you.
You too. And that was effectively my interview with Kayoss. Wow, man. I'm serious. I could have just kept chatting. I could have just kept chatting to him. The guy is so easy to talk to. And in addition to this, he's so down to earth. There's no fronting, there's no BS. It's just he's a true professional. He raps so well. Go find his music. Go listen to his tunes. You'll be doing yourself a favor. I totally understand why the community holds him in high regard. I totally understand why he's been getting the amount of attention he has recently. And as I said to him, and as I'll say to you, and I will reiterate, I wish Kayoss the best of luck in future with his musical endeavors. But thank you very much for watching the 23rd SB interviews with Kayoss. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show Kayoss some love via his various social medias and his Spotify page. Stay cool and stay safe, and please also remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need all the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. I'll catch you in the next interview. Spider hands out.